Thank you everyone for coming today for this historic celebration event. It's great to see everyone here. My name is John Marchant. I'm the Community Services Director and welcome you. Given the implications of COVID and also the fires and the smoke, we're glad we're able to all be here today, and it's great to see all of you have made it as well. You may not know, I'm a former shoreline manager. My office used to be right up there, so I've been involved with the Rengstorff House for a long time, and again, happy to celebrate with all of you. I want to thank those that were involved in the activities that were here earlier on. Would like to thank those including staff, a number of former staff members. Thank you for coming back and being here with us and sharing your stories, as well as members of the Friends of Our House. And I want to say Jeannie Kaminsky in the back, she represents both groups. She represents former staff and a member of the Rengstorff House for a long time, so thank you. So we have a short list of speakers for you today. We're going to include the city manager, our mayor, and two members of the board of the Friends of Our House. And with that, I am going to introduce our city manager, Kimber McCarthy.
Hi, everyone. As John said, I'm Kimber McCarthy. I'm the city manager, and I want to just reiterate my thanks to everyone for being here today, and I'm so glad that we could actually have this ceremony. It was a little touch and go with the air quality over the last couple days, so I'm really glad that we're actually all here to celebrate this today. I'd first like to recognize all of the elected and appointed officials that are here. Please welcome our Mayor Ellen Kamei, who will be speaking after me, Vice Mayor Lucas Ramirez, and Council Members Allison Hicks, Margaret Abekoga, Pat Showalter, and also Sally Lieber and Lisa Matichek. I'd also like to recognize former Mayor and Council Member Leslie Nichols, who is here with us today. Thank you for being here. We also have our Parks and Recreation Commission Chair, Joe Mitchner, PRC Vice Chair and former Mayor and Council Member Ronit Bryant, Commissioners Sandy Summer, Steve Filios, and Jonathan Herbach. I'm going to acknowledge a few more groups of people that have helped make today possible. So if you could hold your applause to the end, then we can give everyone one giant round of applause. So first, I'd like to start off by thanking the members from the Friends of the Our House and the Shoreline staff for putting on this event today. It's so great that we can recognize such an important resource here in Mountain View and all of the work that has gone into this original restoration, continual maintenance, and operations for the last 30 years. I'd also like to thank the Friends of the Our House for their long-standing support of the Rengstorff House. So they do everything from special events, weddings, docent tours, upkeep of all the historical items that you've seen inside. We're really fortunate to have that group here helping us over the last 30 years. I'd also like to recognize the key leaders that are here with us today who continue to act as a resource whenever they are needed. Without their passion and leadership over the years, it's possible that this amazing architectural beauty wouldn't have made it through 2 moves and the restoration at its present location. Now let's give one large round of applause to everyone who's here, elected and appointed, as well as the friends, volunteers, and key restoration leaders for all of their work. Thank you again for being here. And thank you to all of you who put in so much time. John, I'll turn it back over to you. I'd like to now recognize John coming up. Thanks.
Thank you, Kimbra. It was 30 years ago that the Rengstorff House opened to the public, and that was 7 years after the park itself was open. Through the work of many of those in attendance and the continued support of the Rengstorff family, the Friends of Our House, 30 years later, we continue to utilize the historic venue for administrative offices, private rentals, historic celebrations such as today, and educational tours to assist the public to learn more about the history of Mountain View. When I worked at the Rengstorff House, seeing the number of members of the public come in for the first time and start to learn the history, it really turned them into wanting to know more, and I can't appreciate and thank the docents that are part of our program. So why don't we give all of our docents a round of applause as well. And next, I'd like to invite our mayor, Ellen Kamei, to say a few words.
Hi, everyone. Hello. It's so great to celebrate with you today, especially among so many public servants, special guests, community leaders, and friends. It's amazing that after 30 years, we have so much support from former staff, as was mentioned, the Friends of our house, and members of the Mountain View Historical Association. It speaks to the strong community formed by Mountain View residents, both historically and presently. The city is fortunate to have so many amazing resources that represent so much history in Mountain View and in the shoreline area in particular. Not only does it represent the story of the Rengstorff family who immigrated here in search of a better life, but also the development of Mountain View and shoreline from a rural agricultural community to an urban city with a 750-acre regional park. I'm grateful to celebrate the 30th anniversary of restoration of the Rengstorff House with so many individuals who led to key roles in restoring and maintaining this piece of Mountain View history. So with that said, I'd like to read the proclamation that my council colleagues and I have put forward. So bear with me as it's a lot to read because there's a lot of history here. Whereas the historic Rengstorff House is a facility that represents the history of Mountain View, where immigrant Henry Rengstorff and his family came to the North Bayshore area in search of a prosperous life. And whereas a group of local residents recognize the value and importance of the home and asked the city of Mountain View to purchase and restore the historic home. And whereas it took tremendous resolve, creativity, and attention to detail to physically move the 3,955 square foot, 130-ton structure out of a developing industrial area in Shoreline at Mountain View Regional Park. And whereas in 1991, the Rengstorff House was fully restored at its present location in Shoreline with the help and support of key restoration leaders, such as former city staff and the Friends of our house, all of which have played an integral role in restoring, enhancing, and continually supporting this historic resource. And whereas the Rengstorff House received designation as a point of state historical interest and placed on the National Register of Historic Places, now serving as Mountain View's oldest home and one of the finest examples of Victorian Italianate architecture on the West Coast. And whereas 2021 marks the 30th anniversary of the restoration of the Rengstorff House amidst a worldwide pandemic, and supporters continue to find innovative ways to keep the house and its history relevant. Now, therefore, I, Ellen Kamei, Mayor of the City of Mountain View, along with my colleagues on the City Council, do hereby proclaim today as the 30th anniversary of the restoration of the Rengstorff House. I think that deserves a round of applause. So as you tour inside the house, you'll see our proclamation there. Thank you all for being here and the opportunity to celebrate the historic resource and all the efforts that have gone into restoring it and operating it. And I'll turn it back over to John.
Thank you, Mayor. I am now going to invite two of the board members from the nonprofit Friends of Our House to speak of the significance of Henry Rengstorff, the Rengstorff House, and the efforts to restore it. And I am pleased to introduce Martha Wallace as our first speaker from the Friends of Our House. And Martha is a longtime docent. I've got to know her over the years. And again, she is one of those that has really dug into the history of the house and the family and is able to share that with a lot of our residents. So here's Martha. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, City Manager McCarthy and Mayor Kamei. Closer. Better? When Henry Rengstorff stepped off the ship from Germany in 1850, his dreams were most likely focused on building a new life for himself from the myriad opportunities resulting from the California Gold Rush. A day like today and an event like this would not have been part of his wildest dreams. Henry came here to the Santa Clara Valley, where local farms were providing needed produce for the gold miners. He worked at a variety of jobs, and here he connected with other German families in the Evergreen area of San Jose. There he met and married Christine Hostler, and they had 7 children. He became a U.S. citizen and in 1867 bought land at what is now the corner of Shoreline and Shorebird. We passed it on the way here today. There he built this beautiful Italianate Victorian home. At the end of this road, he built Rengstorff Landing and Warehouse. That's about where the entrance to the park is today, where scow schooners loaded with produce from nearby farms and ranches sailed to San Francisco and returned with supplies for the developing communities. Henry continued acquiring property, owning farms in Evergreen, Milpitas, and Mountain View, and raising dry crops of wheat, barley, and hay. On land up off Alpine Road, he raised cattle and logged timber. In fact, this house was built with redwood and fir from that land up on Alpine. In the early 1880s, valley agriculture changed from dry crops to vineyards and stone fruit orchards, supported by new technology for irrigation, preservation, and distribution, leading to a higher return on investments. Henry followed this trend with the purchase in 1881 of land for orchards along what is now San Antonio Road in Los Altos. Always working to improve the yield of his lands, in 1885 he patented an excavator to remove dirt from dry creeks and form ditches and drains to improve irrigation. Henry and his family were active in Mountain View life, supporting the advancement of the community. He was a member of the Republican Party and the Cumberland Presbyterian Church. In 1859, he and one of his workers hauled timber for the church building from Lexington Mills in the Santa Cruz Mountains. This church stood until it burned in 1911 at the corner of Castro and Church Streets in Mountain View, just where Wells Fargo was until a few weeks ago. In 1870, he sold for $1 a portion of his shoreline land to build the Wisman School, the city's earliest school. His daughter Elise contributed money toward the purchase of land to be developed into Moffett Field. The Rengstorff family lived in the house until 1959, when Henry's grandson, Perry Ascom, retired and sold it to Newhall Land and Farming Company. The house was rented for about 10 years and then left vacant. It fell into ruins and was slated for demolition. Floods in the area were causing severe damage to farms, roads, and homes. You may remember a flood at Christmas in 1955, and flood protection in Mountain View became a serious issue. Other ventures emerged in the shoreline area: a hog farm, an auto wrecking yard, and a dump. In 1967, the city and the county purchased 600 acres along the bay for flood protection and agreed to establish Shoreline Regional Park. Importing landfill was too costly, so household waste was brought from San Francisco to raise the land above flood level. You do know you're sitting on garbage here. Salt ponds were reclaimed and habitat restoration was begun. The house was not within the park area. Although several tentative plans were suggested for moving and saving the house, none came to fruition. In 1978, the house was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The city bought the house for $1. To remove the house from the floodplain, it was moved inside the developing park area. New ideas were suggested. Use the house as a youth hostel, a conference center, or a practice burn for the Mountain View Fire Department. In 1982, Gene Walker Riley and Ann Laley Snyder helped form the Friends of Our House to advocate for full restoration of the house. Finally, in 1988, the Mountain View City Council voted to fund the restoration of the house to its original elegance, serving 3 goals: offices upstairs for Shoreline Division, saving the cost of constructing a separate building, a historic house museum downstairs, and the grounds planned with a rental program in mind. The house was moved a second time to its present location. Jenny Kaminsky loaded Perry Ascom's widow, Frances, who came to visit. Her memories of the house helped plan the restoration and decoration of the house and its interior. The house was saved, and in little over a year, the transformation was completed. The cost for the move and restoration was over $1 million. That's 12 rooms and 3,995 square feet. So, 30 years ago, a grand opening was held. Some of you are here again today, as we remember that time and celebrate all that has followed since. The Friends of Our House has worked through the years to provide educational events, build community outreach, manage and conserve our museum collection, and add the tank house and the windmill, and research and share the story of Rengstorff House, the Rengstorff family, and the history of Mountain View. We invite you to become a member of our organization, the Friends of Our House, to help support these efforts. Thank you, Henry Rengstorff, for your venture into a new world, your entrepreneurship, and your contributions to the flourishing community of Mountain View. I wonder what he would think to see us today here next to the Googleplex. And thank you. Now I'll turn it over to Tom McTan to tell us about the future of Friends and the Rengstorff House.
Thank you, Martha, for your great presentation. Martha inspires me to learn more every time I get to hear her speak. Thank you, Mayor, City Council, Parks and Recreation Commission for allowing me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Friends of Our House today. I'm delighted to be here as the new president of the board of the Friends and to join you in honoring the legacy of the Friends, its supporters, the leaders of the restoration, and of course the restoration. In all of our hands, more than a small few, is the work of saving history. The restoration of this house we are celebrating was kickstarted by the community, as they, some here today, looked beyond an abandoned old house and instead saw history worth saving and stories worth sharing. In 1978, after being abandoned for years, the house was added to the National Register of Historic Places, not because of some automatic enrollment, but because of the community. Once added, that certainly didn't mean restoration was inevitable, but it was more community organizing and volunteering that made that effort happen. Not assuming others would take the responsibility, but they embraced it themselves. And that group of volunteers created a framework that evolved to be our organization today. As part of the restoration, and since, the volunteers of the Friends has helped the interpretation of history, conducted research and published papers, curated artifacts and exhibits, helped integrate a tank house and a windmill for more historic interpretation of the time period, supported docenting of the house, and history education goals, including events, special tours, and other activities in partnership with the City of Mountain View. We're talking much about the past today, but as a historic organization, we also plan for the future. Working to ensure the house, its history, continues to be aware for new generations, and the history of early Mountain View in our area exists beyond writing and pictures, but in a way you can experience by going inside. To do that, we are here 30 plus years, evolving, continuing to advocate for the house's continued upkeep, accessibility, and awareness. But saving history requires volunteers and community support. We hope many here are open to continue the legacy of our restoration leaders in the house for the future and more of our community to learn and enjoy the house for years to come. Your part in helping to save history and supporting the house can be what you can do. I did not assume years ago on one of my first visits to Mountain View, seeing this old house, that I would be part of the organization to help maintain it. You can spread awareness by telling others, sharing and tagging on social media, or talking about our 3D tour, inviting others to visit and learn about the house, volunteering, and especially helping to, as the house opens to targets to open again, volunteering or helping to find volunteers for the important role of the house, the docent. These are the people who share its story directly with visitors. I hope others can join this effort where they can to help continue to preserve and be a steward of local history and inspire others to do so. Thank you again for the Mayor, City Council, Park and Recreation Commission, Mountain View Historical Association for joining the Friends, remembering everyone of our shared goals and celebrating the work done towards them today. I'll pass it back to John to close us out.
All right, thank you again for everyone for coming out and celebrating with us today. If you didn't get a chance to attend one of our tours, we invite you to look at your program. We have a QR code that you can scan and get more information. Look at our 3D tours as was discussed. And once again, I want to specifically call out some of the former staff that was able to be part of the restoration and then also share their stories with you, but also with city staff. So if you're a former staff member that was involved, if you'll just raise your hand and please be recognized, I would appreciate it. Thank you. I would also like to make you aware of a special speaker and tour series that is being held every Saturday in the month of September. If you didn't grab one of these, please do. This is something special we're doing to honor the 30th anniversary. Some of the key restoration leaders that we were just talking about will be in attendance and will be giving specialized and extended tours during the month to share their knowledge about various elements of the house and its unique restoration. So I encourage you to come and take advantage of that, and please tell others as well. Finally, I'd like to thank all the staff, volunteers, especially the friends of our house that made today possible. And a special thanks to Christina Perino, our senior recreation coordinator over in the back, for taking the time and effort to help put today together. And I'd also like to recognize Brady Rebush. He is our new shoreline manager, who also helped with putting today together. And with that, this concludes our ceremony. We thank you again for coming out, seeing all of you, and participating in today's event. So thank you very much. Feel free to stick around and discuss amongst yourselves. But thank you. Appreciate everyone being here. Thank you.